What is going on, everybody? Quancredible here, bringing you the first review on this channel for 2022. I hope everybody had a good New Year's, but it's time to get back to it. Real quick though, before the video actually starts, I just want to say something. If you've been here before, you've already seen it. If you're new here or just haven't seen it yet, this is just a throw blanket. I just throw it on when I get a little chilly. It's a nice material, feels nice on the skin. I just enjoy it.
Yeah, boy.
Stop it.
But anyway, on to chapter 45. This chapter is actually pretty dope because they did the fight in a good way, or I guess are doing the fight in a good way, where they're doing both the fights happening simultaneously instead of doing it like a 1v1 and then and then wait till that's done, then do another 1v1. So it kind of makes everything happen a little bit faster. And I really like this chapter because of a lot of the subtle interactions with Sin in the background. So basically, the chapter does start off with Percival trying to say, like, hey, I'm Percival of the Four Knights of Apocalypse. So, if you want somebody, take me, don't take everybody else. Like, he's trying to sacrifice himself for his friends, which is a very, like, Percival thing to do. But these guys, of the Dark Talismans are already committed to just killing everybody. That's what they want to do. They want to kill everybody. So yeah, basically, no dice on that one. They're there to kill everyone. From there, Annie basically is just reaffirming to Percival that, like, it's not like you dragged us into this. We are choosing to be here. So, you don't have to try to sacrifice yourself for us. And then she basically says that her and Donnie are going to handle it, which, of course, is what everybody was probably thinking, that it would have to be those two, since they're the only people that are, like, more or less pretty healthy. Percival's burnt out on magic power, and Nansen's is still suffering from the side effects of his Ceranos drug. So it has to be those two to fight these other two Dark Talisman members. From there, we also get Sin exposing their names. Bergie the Bewitcher, and I'm gonna say this other guy's name wrong. Doronach. Doronach, I don't know what his name is, but Sin does reveal that he does know both of their names, and he does know a little bit about them because he says that they won't be as casual as Elgin was, kind of also revealing to them that he knows more about them. To which the girl Bergie, she says that only a select few in Camelot would even be aware of their execution squad, which, since only a select few would know about their execution squad, would lead a lot of people to believe that Sin has spies, or Sin has been spying on Camelot for a while or something like that, which would make sense. But for me personally, I feel like there's a little bit more to this, because for me, one of my biggest things is I think Sin is Lancelot. No big shocker if anybody has watched any amount of videos on this channel. I personally think Sin is Lancelot. And I think this would make sense because I'm not the biggest, person into the Arthurian lore, but I do know that King Arthur and Lancelot in Arthurian lore were really close. They were friends. So part of me thinks that if Sin is Lancelot, that Lancelot, after he got taken by the Lady of the Lake, or whatever happened to him when he got teleported from the fairy forest, spent a lot of time in Camelot, and him and Arthur potentially grew close. And due to differences, this is why Lancelot left, and maybe something because of how he left or what happened, he got transformed into the form that we see now. That's kind of what I'm thinking about it, more along those lines. If you guys want me to make a full, like, fleshed out video on that, you guys let me know in the comments, or maybe just leave a lot of likes, and I'll be like, oh dang, maybe they really want that. I want to set, like, well, let's go for like 40 likes in 24 hours, and I'll make that a video if you guys really want to see that. But from that, Annie basically declares that, that she is going to handle them, along with the help of Donnie, as I was saying earlier. And it's funny because we get, like, the whole parallel scene of them walking up towards each other, which is always kind of cool. But we have Donnie saying that, like, which one are we going to fight? Because I kind of want to fight the smaller one, which is really funny to me. And before they could get that figured out, Annie rushes over to Bergie because she called her snot nose, or she insulted her, so she rushes over to fight her, with leaves Donnie to fight I'm gonna just call him the Giant, because he's probably not actually a giant, but I'm just calling him a giant because Doronach, whatever his name is, I don't even want to try. So he's gonna be the giant guy. So it leaves Donnie to fight the giant guy, who has a massive advantage over Donnie in, like, literally every category. So Donnie immediately goes to use the only move that he literally has in his entire kit, which is to float people up and just hold them there. And it's funny because this guy, he has the ability Impact, and I guess his magical ability is just to make a large impact wave around him, to which Sin says that it's a 50-foot radius. But even in this panel right here, it really doesn't look that far. Like, it doesn't look like it's 25 feet away. Like, it really doesn't. And then he also says that Donnie's float magic range is 25 feet, which I recall him in the past lifting up, like, a chaos monster back in Sestania, and that looked way higher than 25 feet. But maybe, like, I understand manga because don't always, like, showcase distance the best, or and I'm not a pixel scaler, so I don't know exactly how many feet it is, but because that little bit of space right there is 50 feet, it just seems kind of wild. But basically, we do see that this is like not like Donnie himself has a lot of weaknesses, but this is a blaring innate weakness to his magic, is because he remembers that Pelgar did a similar thing where if you can just do a giant bursting wave attack, or I guess any type of range attack would essentially, hit Donnie and nullify his ability. And then over in the fight with Burgie and Annie, she just has her staff that, just does all of the elements. So Sin has the idea, Annie, if you can just get her staff away, she'll be defenseless because she doesn't have any offensive magic of her own. So in the midst of both fights happening, I like this because Sin is kind of playing like the whole tactician here. Like he's basically directing them. Like he's not like telling them everything to do, but he's helping them both out at the same time, kind of managing the battlefield, which shows that like Sin has battle experience. So like Sin actually just has experience in fights, or else he wouldn't be able to do this. Like he's way more seasoned than these two, and he's probably more skilled than the Dark Talisman, since he's able to outmaneuver and pay attention to multiple fights at the same time, which is dope for Sin's character. But Sin does tell Donnie to lift up the giant guy, and then of course the giant guy is going to respond by using his exact same ability again, except this time he is in between Annie and Donnie, so the impact sends Annie over to Burgie, and then Annie isn't stupid. She's definitely with like her and Nansen's tied for smartest in their group, not including Sin. She uses this opportunity to, knock it to like shoulder charge and like tackle Burgie down to get the staff out of her hands. I also think it's like semi important to take note, because I don't think they do a good job of showing it later on in the chapter, but it's also good to take note right here of like the damage that Annie has taken or potentially took in this charge. Like her leg looks a little messed up and her arm looks a little messed up, which may play a role later on in the immediate future with all these fights happening. So of course, since she knocked the staff out of her hand, she kicks it off, and the staff is not in the picture anymore, and we get this small scene of Donnie being like, wait, so I was just bait. So essentially from here, Burgie is defenseless, or so you would think, but actually from here she does display her own magical ability, which is mirage, and basically just creates a bunch of mirages of her. And it's really funny because this explains how she didn't die when that guy threw a spear through. Like this explains it. He just hit a mirage. He didn't actually hit her, which is kind of weird, but it makes sense because on one hand it's like, why did you have your ability mirage activated with your team? And at the same time, did the other guy know she had it activated and threw it at a mirage on purpose? Or like it just makes the whole thing weird, but you can still be explained just on how much you want to think about it or not. If you just take it at base value, if you just take it at face value, it makes sense. But if you want to get super sweaty, try hard, like how I sometimes get, then it starts to get a little weird. But all that aside, this ability is literally the worst ability to use against Annie. Any ability for Annie where you're making her choose who's the real one out of a group of people or anything like this, this is tailor-made the worst ability to go against her. So of course with Annie's ability to always see the truth or see the intent, she's able to see through the fake ones and determine which one is real, and she stabs her with her rapier in the chest, and that should be Burgie down, and that should be the end of the chapter. Now moving forward, it's kind of weird because, or not kind of weird, but I kind of think that Burgie won't be all the way down, or she might get back up. It's I don't want her to, but it's a potential thing because I know no one in this group wants to kill people, or at least like Percival's probably the most extreme on that. But I don't really think Annie is a killer either. Like Sin probably just doesn't care; he'll probably just kill anybody. But I don't think that Annie wants to kill people either. So I don't know if this stab was a fatal stab. I really don't think it was. And just a stab like that shouldn't be enough to completely incapacitate her. So Burgie might be more of a factor coming into the future. And then there's also the fight with the giant guy. Even with Annie's abilities, and Annie being probably like pound for pound the best, like in terms of skill, the most skillful fighter there, I don't think that'll be enough to beat him because he's just overpowering and overbearing, even with both of them together. I really think there might be some merit to what Donnie can do, because Sin did grin after Donnie was like, I don't know like what to do, or what do I do. So it makes me think that, like I was saying before, that we may get more in depth onto Donnie's abilities or what he can do or something along those lines, because looking at it right now on paper, there's nothing that Donnie or Annie should be able to do to this guy. So I'm just very interested to see how Nakaba may improve on Donnie's ability, or maybe find some teamwork aspect here, because it does look like that Nance and Percival are going to sit out, and I don't think they're going to come back into this fight. So it really is looking like it's going to be Donnie or Donnie and Annie who are going to take him out. So I'm curious to see how they're going to make that happen. Maybe even a plan from Sin. I'd be okay with like a plan from Sin also. But yes, that essentially is the chapter. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen next down below, as well as how you guys felt about it. I thought it was pretty good. If I had to give it a rating, I give like a 7, maybe even 7.5. I personally just enjoyed the chapter just because of Sin, you know, orchestrating everything in the background. So I kind of liked it a lot more. So like I said, if you want that video about me going more in depth about Sin being Arthur's friend, and there being some betrayal there, like I said, 40 likes, 24 hours, and I'll make that video as soon as I possibly can, but you only got 24 hours for it. So keep that in mind. Aside from that, make sure you guys like the video, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy New Year again.